Giving honor to Jesus Christ, head of my life, and to the presence of our pastor, and to our deacons, and our ministers, and our mothers, and our visitors, guests that are here with us this morning, and to my church family. I thank God for you. Amen. To my wife, I thank God for her. Amen. We just glad to be here today. Amen. We don't, amen, propose to be before you and long and all on today. And we'll be reading from Acts, the 9th chapter. Very familiar set of scriptures. Acts, man, the 9th chapter. Man, we ask that you will bow your head as we go before the throne of grace. Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, Lord, we thank you for this day. Praise you, God, for this opportunity, Lord. Now, God, we pray, Lord, that you speak to your people. God, send us a word straight from heaven on this afternoon, God. Bless the whole house today, God. God, let something be said, God, to help somebody along the way. We pray, Lord, that you bind everything that is not like you. We bind it in the name of Jesus Christ. Speak to your people right now. And God, we thank you for it right now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Acts, amen, the 9th chapter. Start reading at the 3rd verse. And as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him a light from heaven. And he fell to the earth, and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And he said, Who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And he, trembling and astonished, said, What will thou have me to do? And the Lord said unto him, Arise, and go into the city, and it shall be told to thee what thou must do. Man, I want to speak briefly this afternoon from the subject, simply to say, answering Jesus. Answering Jesus. Anybody ever ask somebody a question and you didn't get a response? And I don't think whenever that occurs, it sits well with the person that asks the question. Amen. I can ask Justin a question sometime, and amen, already knowing the answer, and he just don't say nothing. Amen, because I already know the answer. Man, to our young folks, amen, and some old folks, a lot of time when the question is asked, amen, we already know the answer. Man, we ask the question just to see if you're going to be honest. Amen, just to see if you're going to tell the whole story. Amen, just to see, amen, if you're going to tell the truth.
All right.
Amen, the line of work that I am in, oftentimes I have to question folks. Amen, most of the time I already have the answer. Amen. Just ask the question just to get a response. Amen. Jesus is asking somebody in this house a question. And the thing about Jesus, he already knows. He knows the answer. Amen. And just like young folks sometimes, Amen. We won't mumble a word when he asks the question.
Okay.
Amen. Where Jesus is asking a question. Amen. And he is very deserving of an answer.
Yeah.
Amen. On my way to work most morning I have, amen, a routine or a habit. Amen. Because of my extensive commute. Amen. I have places that I do certain things at. Amen. Wherever I'm at 6:30 in the morning, amen, I'm eating 2 boiled eggs. Amen. Wherever I am at 6 o'clock in the morning, amen, I hadn't even turned on the radio. Amen. Wherever I am in my commute. But on my commute just last week, amen, at some point when I get close enough to where the congestion builds up, I turn on the radio, amen, just to get a traffic report. Amen. But just last week, Jesus spoke to me just as clear as anything in the world. Amen. Said, turn on, amen, the gospel radio station. Amen. And listen to some gospel this morning. Amen. And I began to scratch my head and wonder why God was telling me to listen to some gospel, because God knows what my routine is. Amen. God knows that I'm listening to talk radio along the way. Amen. But that is good when you can hear and understand who it is that's talking to you. Amen. It'd be good that you can understand and be obedient when God says stop, that you stop. And so I began to listen to the radio. Amen. Not knowing that my soul needed to be fed that morning. Amen. Not knowing that God needed to speak to this little old guy right here. And so I was obedient in doing what God says do. Amen. God is asking somebody in the house this morning a question. Amen. And he's been asking you the same question over and over and over again. And rather than give God an answer, you just fail to respond. Amen. But God is a good God. Very deserving of a response. And the thing about God is, hallelujah, amen, when you respond to God with an answer, amen. You know, oftentimes it's human to tell Dion or Pastor Hill what it is that you think Pastor Hill wants to hear. Amen. But with God, amen, God is an all-knowing God. Amen. He already knows the answer to the question. Amen. So it is up to us. It's incumbent upon us that we respond with an appropriate and true answer. Amen. Somebody say, God asked, do you love me? Amen. And the response was, you know I do. Amen. But was that really what was going on at the time? Did he really love God? Or was he just merely saying what he thought God wanted to hear? Answering God. We find in the book of John, amen, it talk about folks being there, amen, on the porch by a sheep market. Amen. The Bible said that they brought all manner of folk there. Amen. That was sick. Why did they bring them there? Because the Bible said at a certain season, amen, that the angel would go down and trouble the water.
Yes, sir.
Amen. And whoever was first in the water after the trouble in the water was made whole, or whatever it was that they had going on.
All right.
The Bible said that Jesus saw a man there had been, amen, lame from his mother's womb. Knew that he had now been in that case a long time.
Right.
And Jesus asked the question, will thou be made whole? Jesus is asking a question here. And like so many times we give the inappropriate answer. Amen. The man, instead of him giving an answer to a yes or no question, he gave an excuse. Amen. He began to say that, amen, I have nobody to put me in the water when the angel troubled the water. That's not the appropriate answer. Amen. Jesus answered, will thou be made whole? Amen. The appropriate there. Because the man gave the inappropriate answer. Jesus went on and said, rise, take up your bed and walk. Yes, amen. Yes, and not only did he, when he said rise, amen, he didn't reach down, but the Bible said that the man got up. Yeah. Amen. Took up his bed and walked away. Oh, Jesus is asking a question to somebody in the house. Will thou be made whole? And you're giving the inappropriate answers.
All right, sir. Right.
You're giving the wrong answer. You see, when folks ask questions sometimes, man, I asked somebody a question, a man had to call another facility a few weeks ago. A man inquiring about a person that we had received from their facility a day or two before. Guy had shown up there, and it was very obvious that he had been in a fight. Amen. Very obvious that he had gotten beaten up pretty well. Okay. Amen. And we began to look through his jacket to see if there was any documentation, amen, to support the way that he looked. Amen. We saw where, amen, he had been even taken to the hospital because of his injuries. But there was no documentation to tell us how he got injured. Okay. And so when I began to call and inquire from the other facility head, amen, he told me, he said, hold on just a minute. Amen, he went and I stayed on hold for about 10 minutes. And then he came back and gave, I think, one of the most inappropriate answers that you could give. I don't know what happened. Amen, when somebody asks, when I ask somebody a question, amen, I told my son years ago that I don't know was not an answer. Amen, give me an answer. Amen, if you don't know it, if somebody called me and I don't have the answer, I'm not going to say I don't know. I'll say let me check and I'll get back with it. All right. But I'm not going to say I don't know. Jesus is asking a question to somebody in the house this morning. Amen. If you're not giving an answer, that's inappropriate. And then you turn around and saying, I don't know. That's inappropriate. Right. Amen. God knows everything. Amen. He knows that you know the answer. All right. Amen. But because of the hardness of your heart, amen, you're refusing to give God the appropriate answer. Amen. We've been children sometimes. And we know coming up as kids that when the parent asks you a question, it may cause you, amen, to get in trouble if you give the correct answer. Right. Amen. Most certainly if you give the incorrect answer to a question that the parent already know the answer to, you're still going to get in trouble. Right. Amen. But I would rather get in trouble for giving the appropriate answer than to give the inappropriate answer and have to suffer the consequences. Right. God is asking somebody a question in the house this morning. And amen, rather than give God the appropriate answer, you're giving him inappropriate answers and you're suffering because of your answer. Yeah. Amen. Give God the correct answer this morning. All right. Answering God. Sometimes we've heard over and over again that the truth hurts sometimes. Amen. I would rather tell the truth and get a whooping when I was coming up than for my parents to find out that I lied and had to get a whooping. I'm going to get a whooping either way. Amen. But I believe if I told the truth, amen, I might not get as long of a whooping. Amen. It might not be as hard of a whooping. Amen. Because sometimes, saints, when you get a whooping, when I whoop sometimes, amen, I had what I call those hard licks. And then the licks that I really weren't no licks. Amen. You cried because you knew you was getting a whooping. Amen. But when you tell God the truth, amen, and God, amen, causes you, amen, to the truth. Amen. Amen. There ain't no suffering in the truth. Amen. But when you tell the truth and have to suffer, amen, God is right there with you. Amen. Oh, but when you lie, amen, and God is acting up for the truth, there is a different type of suffering that you have to go through.
All right, preacher.
The man don't know who it is that we're talking to in the house this morning. When we're answering Jesus. You know, we got this thing now, amen, we call the cell phone. Everybody's got one. Everybody. Amen. Folk, you see people walking down the street, don't have a car to ride in, but they got a cell phone. Amen. And technology can be a wonderful thing. Amen. I think the cell phone, amen, was the worst invention in the world. Because you can't get away from nobody. You can't even lie and get away from somebody. Amen. I've got two. One for work and one for home. And the technology is so good, amen, that we've learned how to cheat. Amen. We add ringtones for certain folks.
Right.
I got a job ringtone. I know I have to answer that. Amen. I've got a ringtone for Carolyn and Jessica. No, I have to answer that. Anybody else, I may answer. Amen. Then you got this thing they call caller ID. Amen. I guarantee there ain't 5 folk in this house that can give you 5 phone numbers to any 5 folks that you asked about because of caller ID. I got Sister Hill program, Mother Hill program, Deacon Guy program. Better not ask nobody to fill out an application, amen, and put down reference. Let me go get my phone because I don't know nobody's phone number. Amen, because of caller ID. Amen, I know my house number. I know Carolyn and Justin's cell number. I know the church number and the work number. Outside of that, I don't know nobody else's number because I've got you programmed in my phone. But when Jesus called, I don't need a caller ID. Amen, to realize who it is that's calling. Amen, I don't have a choice in whether or not I'm going to answer the phone or not because Jesus is calling. That was an old song that folk used to sing, said, Jesus is on the main line. Hallelujah. Tell him what you want, amen. We got a choice of whether or not what I want to answer when you call. But when Jesus calls, I've got to answer the phone, amen. I can't just hit ignore, amen, because Jesus did not ignore me, amen. When I was in my dirt and when I was in my field, amen, Jesus came and saw about me and he did something for me. Answering Jesus. The scriptures that we read from this morning. Here we have Saul. Amen. The Bible said that he had gone, amen, and gotten letters. Amen. And that he was threatening slaughters, amen, against the saints. Amen. But when you're doing something, amen, against a child of God, amen, you really need to be careful. Amen. Found himself on the way. Amen. Going to find saints to do something to.
All right.
The Bible said that a light shined down from heaven.
Yes, sir.
Amen. That it knocked him from his feet. And then he heard a voice, amen, saying, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? Yeah. Amen. Saul could have done so much like so many of us and not answered. Amen. Saul could have ignored, amen, and act like he didn't hear. Amen. You know, sometimes we talk to folks and they act like they don't hear you. Amen. But Saul, amen, gave a response. And he said, who art thou, Lord? Amen. And what will you have me to do? God is asking the question in the house this morning. Somebody, God is asking you to live for God. Amen. And the appropriate answer would be, for God I live and for God I die.
All right.
Amen. Somebody, God is asking you to come from among, amen, the world. But I heard the appropriate answer say that if God be of any man be in Christ, amen, that he is a new creature. That old things are passed away and behold, all things have become new. Amen. I hear God asking somebody to come from out of the world. Amen. Amen. Put on holiness this morning. Amen. Stop looking like the world this morning, because God is looking for a call out folk. Amen. Somebody that can represent him. Amen. When the going is good, amen, God is good. Amen. Amen. When the going get bad, amen, God is still good this morning. Amen. God is asking the question this morning, will thou be made whole? Amen. Will you serve me in the good time? Hallelujah. Will you serve me in the bad time? Amen. Will you serve me on top of the mountain this morning? Will you serve me in the valley this morning? Amen. Will you deny yourself this morning and pick up your cross? Amen. And follow me. God is asking the question this morning.
All right.
And if you're looking for the appropriate answer, the appropriate answer is, I will. Amen. Nevertheless, my will, Jesus, but your will be done. You see, we get caught up, amen, in doing what we want to do.
All right.
And God speaks to us clearly every day. Every day. Over and over and over again.
Yeah.
You see, we as parents, man, I was raised by a single parent. Little old lady. Did not play. Wasn't going to ask you the same question more at one time. Amen, because if you ask, she asked you the question, asked you a question, and you ignored her, she got your attention. It wasn't a tap on the shoulder. Amen. It wasn't something that she had to do more than once. But she got your attention. If you was lucky enough, she may say, did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I asked you? Amen. God is an ever-loving God.
Yes, sir.
Amen. And he's asking the same question over and over and over and over. Yeah. And rather than you, and you know who you are, give God an answer, you choose not to say nothing. God knows the answer.
Oh, yeah.
God knows you know the answer.
Yes, sir.
But you choose to be disobedient. You choose not to respond.
Yes, sir.
But my Bible said all disobedience is sin.
All right, sir.
You see, I tell my wife this, and a lot of times I'm done. A lot of times I talk to her about stuff that I don't talk to y'all about. And I told her this years ago, Mother. I said, you know what, Mother? I'm Carolyn. I really don't believe folk gonna go to hell for what they wear. I really don't. But what I do believe, people gonna go to hell for being disobedient.
All right.
When you've been told what to do, and you've been disobedient. Now that's Elder Files. Don't write it in the Bible. Don't go jump on Bishop Hill. Don't jump on Pastor. That's what I believe. But I do believe in being obedient. I really do. So when you answer God, and he's asking the question, he's deserving of an answer.
That's right, sir.
Stop ignoring him. Give him, and if you don't know the appropriate answer, ask him to show you.
Amen.
He will show you. And the thing about it, God is not going to ask you nothing that you don't already know the answer to. You know, I'm not going to ask Justin a question, try to trick him to get him in trouble. God is not going to ask you any trick questions. He's going to ask you an appropriate question that's deserving of an appropriate response. And he's asking the question this morning. And you need to learn how and give God the appropriate response in answering him. A lot of times my supervisor would call me and ask me a question that I know that I really don't want to give that response to. But because he's my supervisor, I give him the appropriate answer. And sometimes he doesn't say anything. And sometimes he go way over the left field. And I say, I should have said nothing. But we don't have that choice with God. We have to give God an answer.
Amen.
Don't think that you have a choice whether or not you have to answer God. I want to go on record to tell you, you have to answer God. Everybody stand. Came here this morning, and it seemed like I talk a lot to a lot of folks, but one thing that y'all can say about Elder Files, I take my preaching serious.
All right.
If you're not sure whether I'm serious, any other day of the year, of the month, whenever I've got to preach, I'm serious. I may come in here and I may crack a smile, and I try to make a beeline to the office. But Brother Walker was bothering me this morning. Wife was bothering me this morning. Sister Brenda started in on me this morning. And it was like it took me forever to get to the office this morning. But I know that those people love me. Sister Mary stuck her head in the door, checking on me. I don't know if she was sent or not, but I know that some people do love me. But on the third Sunday of every month, if I'm not serious any other day, I'm serious that day. And I appreciate your prayers. I know I couldn't do it without the prayers of the saints. Anybody have any needs for prayer this morning? You need prayer to give God his just answers. I pray that you will come that we may pray for you. You need prayer for guidance so you can get an understanding to the answers. We pray that you come at this time.
Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Oh.